Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a seriously epic journey back in time, straight into the foggy, mysterious era before written records even existed in China. We are looking at the absolute foundation of Chinese history. It's this fascinating space where mythological tales of gods and heroes directly collide with hard, undeniable archaeological facts. It's where we get to see exactly how early humans transitioned from just scraping by and fighting for basic survival into forging the very first structured states.
So, that brings us to the ultimate question we're answering today. How do you build an empire out of myths, megafloods, and, well, bloody coups? Because as we're going to see, the true dawn of Chinese civilization wasn't just some quiet, gradual shift. No way. It was cinematic. We're talking colossal environmental disasters, ruthless warfare, and staggering feats of engineering. Okay, let's dive right into this and set the stage.
The period we're exploring is widely known as the Age of Antiquity, or the Legendary Era, and this spans an incredibly long timeline, starting way back with ancient hominids all the way through the Neolithic period. Now, what makes this era so captivating is that we don't have standard written historical records, right? Instead, we have to rely on this unique unfolding dance between ancient textual legends and modern archaeological discoveries. They mutually inform each other, acting as the absolute foundation that eventually leads to China's first recorded state, the Xia Dynasty. Section 1. The Legends. Kings, Gods, and Evolution.
These ancient myths are actually holding up a mirror to real human evolution. Take the figures of the clan society period, which are often called the three sovereigns. First up, we have Yu Chao and Sui Ren, whose names literally tie to building nests and making fire. Then, stepping forward, there's Fuxi, who represents the era of fishing and hunting. And finally, Shennorng, the divine farmer, marking the dawn of primitive agriculture. So these aren't just fairy tales, right? They're the cultural memory of humanity's step-by-step technological evolution, moving from basic survival all the way to organized farming.
Let's look at how this builds into complex society. From roughly 3500 to 2000 BCE, we enter the era of the five emperors. We kick things off with Huangdi, the Yellow Emperor, where we see the very first emergence of kingship and warfare. Then we move through Zhuansu and Diku, which is an incredibly important period. They instituted major religious reforms, often referred to as the severing of heaven and earth, which led directly to professionalized priestly classes and social management. And finally, by 2000 BCE, we hit the reigns of Yao and Shun, where political structures became remarkably sophisticated.
During those Yao and Shun periods, we see this absolutely revolutionary political innovation, the abdication system. Instead of passing power down directly through a bloodline to a son, rule was passed to the most virtuous and capable candidate. I know, a pretty wild concept for the time, but this merit-based approach was absolutely crucial. Because as we'll see shortly, early civilization was about to face massive environmental crises that required immensely capable leaders, not just guys who inherited titles.
Section 2. The Dirt. Digging up the truth. But hey, myths and legends only tell half the story. To understand what was really happening, we have to look down into the earth. The crucial point here is that between 5,500 and 4,000 years ago, the exact time these legends supposedly took place, archaeologists have uncovered the physical dawn of civilization. We see the Hongshan culture up in the Liao River basin establishing large ritual sites, which indicates early chiefdoms. Down in the lower Yangtze, the Liangzhu culture was building extensive water management systems and carving jade, basically functioning as an early kingdom. And over in Shanxi, the Taosi culture built walled cities and astronomical observatories, aligning perfectly with the timeline of the Yao and Shun period. The transition from tribal confederations to early statehood is literally buried right there in the dirt.
Section 3. Prehistoric blockbuster moments.
Now that we've set the stage, let's smash the mythology and the archaeology together. We're going to look at 4 incredibly cinematic events that forged a civilization. Blockbuster number 1, the Unification War. About 5,000 years ago, the world was essentially in chaos. This was the opening battle of the Pre-Xia civilization, led by the legendary Yellow Emperor, Huangdi. This unification happened in 2 massive stages. First up, the Battle of Banquan. Huangdi fought and defeated the Yan Emperor, who actually belonged to the same Huaxia group, successfully integrating their tribes internally. But the Battle of Zhuolu, that is where the myth gets spectacular and incredibly tense. Huangdi faced off against Qiyu, who is described in legend as having a beast's body, human speech, a bronze head, and an iron forehead. When Qiyu summoned this massive, unnatural fog to blind Huangdi's army, Huangdi literally invented a south-pointing chariot to navigate straight through the mist, ultimately capturing and killing Qiyu. This legendary warfare successfully merged the Yan and Huang tribes into the ancestors of the Chinese people.
Okay, let's jump forward. I want you to wrap your head around this number. 5,300 years ago.
Blockbuster 2, the Liangzhu mega dams. What is truly mind-blowing about the Liangzhu culture in southern China is the sheer scale of what humanity was achieving here. Without a single metal tool, early humans built a super dam system stretching for dozens of kilometers just to control floods, irrigate fields, and transport goods. They literally wrapped mud in grass to build these walls. The scale of this engineering honestly rivals the ancient Egyptian pyramids. And you just don't build something like this without immense social mobilization, which absolutely proves a highly organized royal state existed. Plus, they were unified by faith, crafting these exquisite jade totems marked with a really mysterious man-beast motif.
Blockbuster 3, the Eastern Noah's Ark. You see, water wasn't always successfully managed, and awe can quickly turn into pure dread. About 4,100 years ago, during the reign of Emperor Yao, a literal apocalyptic flood threatened to wipe out everything early civilization had built.
The response to this flood became this tragic generational saga. Yao first tasked a man named Gun to control the waters. Gun's strategy was simply to block the water. He spent 9 grueling years building dams, but he failed completely and was ultimately executed for it. Later, under Emperor Shun, Gun's son, Yu, was given the exact same impossible task, but Yu changed tactics entirely. Instead of blocking the water, he decided to dredge it, creating channels to guide the floodwaters out to the sea. The legend goes that Yu was so relentlessly dedicated that he passed his own home 3 times during his mission without ever once going inside.
13 years. It took Yu 13 agonizing years to finally conquer those floodwaters. This wasn't just some public works project. It was a heroic feat of absolute survival that earned him legendary status and directly paved the way for him to establish the Xia Dynasty.
But look, the path to statehood wasn't all noble sacrifices and heroic engineering. Sometimes it was just pure, unadulterated violence. Consider the stark, terrifying reality uncovered here. Palaces destroyed, graves looted, a brutal prehistoric coup. Blockbuster 4, the Taosi Game of Thrones. Up in Shanxi province, archaeologists excavated the Taosi site, which is widely believed to be the ancient capital of Yao. Now, in its early phases, they found these majestic tombs filled with jade battle axes representing military might and observatories showing a deep connection between royal and divine power. But then, they hit the late phase of the dig, and the story takes a dark true crime turn. Palaces were found destroyed, royal graves were intentionally dug up and brutally looted. They even found the skeleton of a young female aristocrat who had been cruelly dismembered. Archaeologists conclude this physical evidence points to a massive, bloody political coup, either an internal usurpation or a violent external invasion. It proves prehistoric politics were just as ruthless as any modern drama on TV.
Section 4. The Path to Statehood.
So, bringing all these threads together, let's summarize what we've learned and see exactly how this chaotic blending of legends and hard archaeological truths built the foundation of China's first state, the Xia Dynasty. First, consider how warfare under leaders like Huang Di forced isolated tribes to integrate and unify. Second, think about the extreme environmental challenges, like building the Liangzhu mega dams and fighting the Great Flood, which forced massive organized state mobilization. I mean, you simply can't fight a flood without thousands of organized workers. Third, acknowledge how the centralization of power was forged through religious reform and brutal political realities, just like we saw in the Taosi coup. And finally, early forms of meritocracy, the abdication system, ensure that capable leaders were at the helm when it mattered the absolute most. The dawn of Chinese civilization wasn't just a story written in ancient texts. It is written right there in the very dirt. It's a testament to human ambition, resilience, and yeah, sometimes our darker, violent nature. Which leaves us with this final, kind of mind-bending thought to consider. If the dirt holds prehistoric truths that are somehow more brutal and brilliant than the myths themselves, what legends are we creating right now that future archaeologists will uncover thousands of years from today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you next time.